Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
All right. Welcome into Small Business Saturdays. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and you can catch me right up here at oursuccessgroup.com. So appreciate you tuning in here this morning, back at our normal time slot of 8 a.m. Central Time. Let's see here. We've got some people already checking in. Appreciate that very much. Jim, good morning. Thank you for joining us. And Kristen and Sandy and Chuck. Awesome. Good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning as we get ready to talk about the art of goal setting. And as I mentioned, you find me right there, but the other gentleman you can find right there at Our Success Group is going to be joining me here this morning. In fact, let's bring him in right now. Todd Downing, sir, how are you?
Good morning, Aaron. I'm doing well. And yourself?
I am doing fantastic. I'm excited to have this conversation here this morning because I think it's a worthwhile discussion. I think obviously,
sure.
As your shirt tells us, you are a goal setter. And and there's a reason for that, and there's a reason that we came out with the Success Tracker program and whatnot. And so I felt like this morning would be a great opportunity to talk about all of that and dive into that. So let's see here what we've got for our guests or the folks tuning in. First off, Facebook user, if you could do us a favor and head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Well, it took me a second. I'm like, wait a second. Am I going the right way? So again, StreamYard.com /Facebook and give them permission to show us who you are so we know who we're talking to, or you can check us out over at liveosg.com as well. And that gets you on the YouTube side of things and we'll be able to see you from there. So just one of those lovely little Facebook things that we have no control of over there it is. There's the link right there, StreamYard.com/Facebook. So all right, so we've got Facebook user checking in. Tanya. Okay, good. I just want to make sure you are awake here.
Not going to get me. It's not that early.
And Kristen and Chuck say good morning to you as well there, Todd. All right, sir. Well, let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about goal setting, and maybe start us off, Todd, and we'll both just kind of kick this back and forth here a little bit if that works for you. But what are some of the reasons? What are some of the benefits of goal setting that you see?
Well, I think if you're not setting goals, how do you know you're accomplishing anything? It's probably one of the big things. If you're not putting it down, you're not writing it down, you're not saying it, how do you know what you're doing? I mean, and it doesn't have to be, super big things. It's as simple as a to-do list. Here's my goal to get done today. And that's the thing is, I think people look at this big picture of where they have to put it. And no, goals are, these little steps that'll, get you there. So it's just, just setting those, writing them up, and just that way. I know for me, I feel a lot more accomplished when I can go through and here's my to-do list of check off things of have done for the day. And, now I have 4 things left to do for the day and I can get out of here. Yeah,
exactly. And that's exactly right. I mean, it is that, as simple as a to-do list, but can be other things and we can reach for bigger things. I mean, here's the basics of it from my understanding of it is that, our brains, our bodies, we were not designed to be in the world that we're in today. When humans were first created, invented, however that was done, it was survival. It was moving the species along. It was, keeping ourselves from getting eaten by the woolly mammoth or whatever the case may be there. And so we, in a way, to me, goal setting is almost like a way to trick our brains a little bit into kind of staying away from that short-term thinking, that seeking stimulation and sedation, so to speak, and giving ourselves something a little more to work towards, something, like you said, as easy as a to-do list, but you've got those things on the list and now you can go and check those off. And, then you can go, Netflix and chill or whatever. But this whole goal setting process is just that. So basically the way I look at it is goal setting is a way to kind of focus your time and energy, and understand what you're doing it for. So that's the way I look at it. Todd, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things, especially about the success tracker program is, it's setting your goals out there so you have something to reach for. It's almost, like look at a building, you're on the ground floor and you need to get to, the top floor. There's just little steps you have to take to be able to get there. You can take the steps and the stairs and you'll get there, or you can get on the elevator and go up. The success tracker is going to be like your elevator to go up. We're going to get you on that fast track there because you're going to have the support behind it, the accountability, the things there that are going to drive and push you to it. Because that's, I think, one of the issues that people have is they just don't have that accountability. They say, yep, I'm going to do it, but then there's nothing backing it up. Who do they have to answer to? Themselves. So if they're not answering anybody else, those goals can get pushed off to the side and it'll be like, when I get around to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, Todd, both you and I, in fact, I've got my copy right here, have been working our way through this. Probably, I think we're both about in the same place, almost done with it. So the book's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. There you go. And I didn't even plan that one. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's right. I've been carrying it in my bag, so that way, when I get time here and there, I'll pull it out and 5-10 minute read and go.
Sure. And I think one of the interesting parts about the book, and which kind of to me it correlates back to this whole goal setting thing, is that really a lot of things that we need to do to become successful, to have the life that we want to lead, boils down to a whole bunch of tiny little things that are so easy to do that we also in our brains go, well, that's just so easy to do that it's also so easy not to do, because it's not going to affect us today if we don't do that thing. But in the long run, the accumulation of not doing that little thing, not getting our task list done, it's kind of being able to balance that out to a point where we're focused enough, we're spending enough of our time and energy in the right things that we need to do, in the things that we plan to do. So one of the things that is, to me, one of the reasons why I goal set so much, and I think you're a lot like me in this regards, Todd, is that, we can get pulled into a lot of different directions, and basically other people's agenda can be put on top of us, not in a negative way, like they're doing something wrong. It's just the way that it is. It's human nature. I think we're all very helpful people. And so you want to be part of somebody else's thing. But if you're not focused on doing your thing, you're just going to spend your entire time doing somebody else's thing. Right. So what's your take there?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, you want to help others, and you feel that your goal isn't important as helping somebody else reach their goal.
Sure.
And that's where, you still have to think about your goals. You still have to realize, hey, you set these for a reason. And yeah, you can get a little sideways on stuff. That's why, goals are there. They're, you're going to get there. Mm-hmm. You just have to stay consistent with it. And that's where, if you're looking at it every day and you're saying, yep, this is what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going, this is what I need to have done, then you can see it just becomes part of your daily process.
Sure.
Here's the goal for it. Here's what I'm looking at. Here's where I'm going to go with it. For us, we've got a couple different ones set up, and we've changed those over time as we saw. If we want, if we want this to happen, we need to, also this comes sideways with it. What else is, because as you get closer to that goal, you start saying, okay, how can we make this goal better, more. Because it's not just here, I want to do, $100,000 in sales. Okay, great. When you look at the schedule and everything's lined up for it and you're on task for it, then what? You start looking at other things. Well, I want to do this, but then I want to do 100,000, but I want to have a net profit after everything of, $5,000. You start looking at those other things you can do to make that goal, become more of just a single goal, more of, a multiple goal.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the point that you're making there about, where your goals will change over time too. I think that's also really important to understand, is that, like you mentioned, the goal can be whatever you want it to be. And it is going to change over time. One thing you mentioned is, as you get closer to it, you're going to realize some things. You're going to learn more. You're going to know more, tomorrow than you knew today. And so you may need to make some adjustments. You may, that maybe that thing has changed or whatever, and that's perfectly fine. But it's that act of working towards something that you've specifically, 100,000 in sales, number of followers, people that you've helped support, all those kinds of things. So when you're goal setting, the cool part that, we've really discovered too, is that you not only are you kind of working towards what you want to do, but because of that thing that we talked about, that human nature that we want to support each other. And that's wired back to our caveman day brains of, that's how our species will survive, but better as a group than as a single. So once we start working towards our goals and we start putting those goals out there, others are going to realize that, maybe they're on the same path, or maybe that if I scratch your back, Todd, you'll scratch mine, and we'll both get to our goals, And so that's one of the things that I really love about, what we've been able to do with the success tracker is I also think that gives us a reason, a purpose to put the things out there that we want into the world. It's one thing to have your to-do list or have what you've written down, if I've got it written on my whiteboard or whatever, but it's another thing if it's written in bold letters behind me, or if I've shared it with somebody else. What's your take on that once you start sharing it out to the world?
Yeah, once you start sharing, then you almost have to follow through. You do have to follow through. You don't want to be that one that says it and doesn't deliver.
Yeah.
And as far as with goals and where you're setting it, things will change. And a great example of that, we said we wanted to move out of the house. Okay, we did that. We moved into a little spot. Okay, we want to expand. We get there. Then after doing that for a while, it realizes that the productivity level dropped down because we were dealing with so many people that weren't making purchases, that were just, coming in to look around, where we realized, well, now if we want to, the next step was to buy our own building. It's going to be tough to do with where our current location is. So, hey, it just makes sense to move back to the house, save that money for a year, and then from there, purchase the building that we want. So you start seeing, like I said, we got to our goal, set the next one, and then realize, hey, we need to take a couple steps back. We're way more efficient this way. We can produce higher level of income, higher level of sales with less time in that, allows us to put our time in other places. And so by setting those goals and say, here's this, and then you start breaking things down. Oh, okay, well, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to let everybody know we're doing these things. And now that we've let everybody know, we're holding ourselves accountable, and people are going to hold you accountable because they're going to ask, hey, you said that you were going to do this. How's that going? What's going on with this? And then you just have to get right back into it. And here's what we're going to do. Here's what's going on with it. And it's a good thing to have that down there. It's a good thing to put it out there for everybody to know, because then you really start seeing that support that gets behind you. The people that are there with you will be your cheerleaders, and the ones that don't are the ones that you don't need to deal with anymore.
Yeah. I almost feel like you're reading my notes, and I didn't actually share my notes with you. So, because the last thing on my notes here of kind of, I don't know what the best way to describe it, but the purpose of goal setting, where it really kind of shines and why kind of situation for me is that opportunity to, share an achievement, to, a party's more fun with more people. And when you're celebrating and, to me, being able to, even if it's a small goal, I want to celebrate those as much as I can. Hey, I got through my list of to-dos today. That's a celebration worthy scenario. It's I was able to do something that I haven't been able to do all week. Maybe for me, it was, stick to the keto diet or whatever. It doesn't have to be, I changed the world. I made $1 million. Those can be goals you work to if that's what you want. But the same goals of, just the small little incremental changes are just as important. And when you can celebrate those with other people and get that encouragement and feedback, I think that brings a whole lot more to the table too. What are your thoughts there, Todd?
Yeah, absolutely. Having that, like you said, a party is more fun with more people. A party of one is not. I mean, how many times and you don't mean to judge people, but when you go out to dinner and that you see that one person sitting there, you kind of feel bad for them, and they could totally be, perfectly fine with, hey, I'm just cool with this, I'm that, but you want to, hey, maybe we should invite him over here. Maybe we should go sit there. Maybe we can interact. maybe they don't want to deal with anybody and they're perfectly fine with it. But you start realizing, hey, I'm not that one. It's hard for me to go out by myself. I just feel weird. I need people around. I need that interaction, and that's why everything that's going on now is really throwing me off because I haven't went out in months.
That's funny because I used to be just fine heading to the restaurant by myself. Yeah, I'd probably go sit at the bar because it was just easier than sitting at a big old table. But I've never had the challenge with that. But at the same time, you do. I mean, I totally understand that sense of when you've got the people around you, that ability to be with people, share in, it's a great meal or whatever the situation is. It's always so much more sweet. It's always so much more meaningful, I guess, is the way I think I would want to put that. So,
yeah. I mean, it's almost, if you can't share it with somebody, did it really happen? Hey, I was out fishing. I caught a fish this big, but nobody was there to see it. So,
I'm glad you went with the fish story instead of where my head went with the bear and his bowel movements.
Fish, man.
All right.
It's Saturday morning. We're too early for that.
I know. Speaking of early, Renee, appreciate you joining us. Good morning, everyone. But late to the party. You're never too late to the party, especially with live video, because you can go back and replay it later too. Jerry, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you tuning in here. All right. So, Todd, I feel like, at least from my notes, I feel like we covered some ground there with the why part of goal setting. I think the next aspect that I'd like to talk about is the specifics of the how of what, I don't know. I guess the question I want to ask you is what do you see is the difference between, just kind of maybe a goal that you feel like is going to work and maybe some things even that you've done for yourself. I know I've done this myself too, where I've kind of put things out there and it just didn't seem to really work goal wise. What's the difference between a well thought out goal and maybe something that might not be as effective?
Well, kind of twofold here. One is, no goal that you set for yourself is a bad goal, and because, you're setting that goal. Now, as you start going to it, if something's off with it and doesn't feel right, that's fine. You've learned that going to it. So you can change that goal. And you have the reasoning backing it up. It's not, I don't want to do it. It's, hey, I tried this, I'm working towards it. Just doesn't feel right. I need to move that goal a little bit more here, a little bit more there. I need to add this to it. I need to take this away from it. That's not really aligning on how, I see my future going. I don't, it could be that goal of 100,000. Well, then, COVID happens and, everything's wiped out. Hey, this happened. Realistically, yes, I want to get this, but in order to make, everything work out, I need to make sure that we're at 50,000. So that's the goal, because that's where break even is and everything's fine with it. So you kind of change as you go along. Right now with everybody's marketing plans for the year, it was thrown off, so they had to change. You had to adapt. It wasn't anything you did wrong. Everything changed around you. So you have to be, adaptive to change, what goes on around you. And your goals will change too. You just can't say, hey, this is it, and hard nose it, and I'm right there doing it, because sometimes it gets you in more trouble because, you're not seeing what is going on around you. You're not able to pivot. You're not able to then reap this new source of revenue come in because you're still hard nosed on this one. So, it's being adaptive is definitely, the key to setting a goal. And just because you're changing your goal, doesn't mean that, it was a bad goal to begin with. Sometimes you just have to. It just depends that, if it's a short-term goal or a long-term goal and where you're going with it. Yeah.
I agree with that. There is no such thing as a bad goal, and failure is really only occurs when you give up, when you stop. So even if you've tried and didn't reach it, that's not a failure, because the things that you learned along the way will give you what you need to get to that change, and it is probably a need to pivot, a need to do something differently, so that's a really good point. I think one of the other things that I've noticed it for myself and what I've seen with others is with goals, they do have to be laid out in a specific way, because of the fact that we do need a little bit, more, even just getting through the little things. We have to have that ability to let our subconscious mind help us out, to let other people help us out, to kind of be more open to things. So the way I kind of look at it is sometimes you set what you might think is a goal, and it's really just more of an aspiration, a hope, and that's totally fine. But I don't think that's going to push you. I don't think that's going to drive you forward. That's certainly not going to get you a whole lot more support from other people, because they don't really understand it to a point where they can provide you specific help. So I think a big part of goal setting is to be able to be crystal clear on it, and stay away from the general language, stay away from that, kind of wishy-washy terminology that you might want to use, because it's easier, and to get into the specifics. When you talk about the sales goal, it's 100,000 in sales, but by when? If if I were to just go, my goal is 100,000 in sales, well, that's great. How many more years do I have to live? And then what would I be making if the end goal becomes $100,000? So right. If I can take that and make it, 100,000 in sales, and by a certain time, that's going to make it more powerful. And I can even make it more powerful from there, because the other thing that could happen at that point is, you say 100,000 in sales. Well, I could sell $100,000 of something. That doesn't mean I'm going to make any money on it. Yep. Maybe I'm losing money every time. And that's why it's selling so good. I drop my prices so I make 100,000 in sales. Well, that's not going to do me any real good if I'm actually not making a profit too. So, getting as many of those details as crystal clear as you can. And that's where I think kind of understanding that it's okay to pivot, change, adapt, adjust, is really important, because your first thing is going to stand out, and you're going to be living it. You're going to be talking about it. And you're going to, heck, this happened for us with our success group, Todd. We started talking about it. We started kind of going. Somebody asked us a very succinct question. It wasn't like they were coming at us like with a pitchfork or anything. It was just a simple, honest question. And for me, it stabbed me in the heart, because I was like, I don't have an answer to that. And so that forced us to make that pivot. We got very specific with it very quickly, and went from there. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think setting a goal, it almost needs to, when you write out your goal, you should be able to, what is it? The who, what, when, where, and how, mm-hmm. and where is kind of, depending on what your goal is, but, who's the goal set for? Why did you set it? When is it going to be accomplished by, and how are you going to do it? Where is, kind of depending, but most of those four, you should be able to answer by looking at that. I'm going to do this by this with this for this. You're going to have everything in there. Mm-hmm. So it's as specific as possible. So there's no questions about it. You should be able to look at it and not have any questions on what it is. Not, when is it by this? How are you going to do this? Who is it this for? You should have all that out there, and just ask those questions for it. If it seems vague, it's vague. If it doesn't, if you can't tell somebody it, and that's always another thing too, by putting it out there. You'll put it out there, and then people will ask questions. Hey, well, how or what or when? They'll ask these things, and so you'll have to refine that until you have what that goal is.
Exactly. And I think that's a great way to look at it, that putting it out there. When somebody asks you a question about it, that means that it's not clear. And that's okay. And that's not meaning that you failed, or that was a bad thing, or that person just doesn't get it. None of those things are true. Basically, it just means you need to keep refining it until you get to that point. It's almost like, in a way, like that elevator pitch. You never go out there and tell people what you do on the first time and just nail it. I've never known anybody that's done that. It just changes and evolves, because
I make cool stuff.
And then somebody goes, well, what's cool? And you go, well, T-shirts, or,
what do you want? Because then it opens up the dialogue. But that's the thing, is you have your pitch, how it is, but you need to have that clear goal, because a lot of times putting it out there just isn't enough. You can't just put it out there and be like, okay, now I have it out there, you can sit back. No, you have to work on that every day. And when I say work on it every day, it's not sit down and go through it. No, you have to look at it and realize, this is the goal I'm going for, and this is the steps that I'm doing today are going to help me get to that goal tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. You have to know what your big sight is, what your big goal is, and get those little goals out of the way along the way to help get to that big goal.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, I guess the other thing to think about here, Todd, and to discuss is, you mentioned that asking and refining and all that other stuff. I think one of the most important things that you can do is have a group of people around you, a support system around you, people that are willing to say the things that you need to hear, and are also willing to ask the questions, provide constructive criticism. I mean, if you've got the people that are just destructive and are just trying to tear you down, you can sense that right away. But if people are asking you questions that maybe are hard questions, or maybe they're challenging you on something that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not coming from a, I'm trying to tear you down kind of mentality, then that's the thing that you want. That's the thing that you need. And that's the thing that you should seek out. But we typically don't seek that kind of thing out because it does give us that uncomfort. If somebody asks me a question, I don't know the answer to it, I'm going to look stupid. No, you aren't. You just think that you're going to look stupid. It's totally fine to go, I don't know the answer to that. And honestly, when we were, challenged or we just asked the question about our goal, that's what we said is, we kind of tried to explain it. And then I remember us both kind of come into that realization. It's like, we got to work on that. We'll get back to you.
Yeah. Because we, it was one of those where we had the idea in our head, and that idea didn't change, but we had no way to monitor that or track it. It was like, how do we even know we're on pace for this? Because we didn't. We set the goal out there. We were gung ho behind it, but it's almost like, here's all the building materials to the house, but you have no plans for it. Great, you're going to build a house, but you have no plans. Or the other way, I have the plans for the house, but I have no materials for it. You need both parts for it all to come together. Otherwise, you're just going to end up, with something getting condemned. So just, definitely, you got to refine it. You got to work at it. And like I said, you don't have to every day. I'm sitting down for, an hour and this is my goal and this is what I'm going to do. No, you don't have to set in that. You just have to be, acknowledge that you have a goal. And put it out there for people, and every day, realize, hey, this is what I'm working for. Because there's going to be days that they're just horrible. You're not going to get things done. Everything's going to go off the rails. But that day will pass, and then you'll be able to get back on track.
Yep. Yeah, that's honestly, that's really one of the big reasons why we need to have goals is to overcome and combat those days where you just want to curl up in the corner and suck on your thumb. I've had plenty of days like that where it's just like, oh boy, this is rough. But if you can look back at the goal, reach out to your support system, I mean, that's one of the things I love about a lot of things that happen in the Business Basic group, and where we get to talk a lot about the success tracker and what people are working towards, is that I've seen plenty of people willing to be vulnerable and put it out there. And then the responses that I see are incredible. It's just, and the coolest part about the whole thing is, Todd, you will agree with me here, I'm sure. When I got into this 20 years ago, 10 years ago, to even fathom people that are potentially competitors of each other, supporting each other and offering advice and giving information, I mean, you just didn't see that, so it's pretty incredible.
This industry is a weird industry like that because, every other industry, will have some kind of group where they work together. When I ran the gas stations, we kind of had the same thing where you'd go to these, their meetings, here's how things are working. Here's this, everybody, kind of had those unwritten rules where here's our gas prices. Here's where everybody's staying on the same thing. And because nobody wants to be that person, and they all want to work out because, when you have somebody across the street from you selling the same thing, it helps both of you. Yeah. So, you're able to work back and forth. You're able to bounce ideas, and that's what good business owners do is, they bounce ideas off of other business owners. They try and get that, when you're hard nosed on this and you're not going to help anybody, don't expect any help back. When you're going to talk bad about a business, don't expect any help back. When you're going to, when you're going to tear down somebody else's ads or somebody else's thing, don't expect any help back. It's always, I always figure, if for what is it, for every finger you're pointing at somebody, there's 4 pointing back at you. Is that right? 4,
Yeah.
3, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, worry about yourself, try and help where you can, because most times that always comes back to you. That's just the way that people should be.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I like that. In fact, love the analogy about every finger you're pointing, you've got 3 or 4 pointing back at you. I like that. Yeah, it is pretty interesting to see, but I'll tell you this, Todd, like I said, it's been 20 years that I've been specifically in this industry, and I've never seen it at this level of sharing, of working together, of co-opetition, of, just unlikely bedfellows, that kind of thing. I mean, it's really cool to see. And, I still think we're just scratching the surface though. So, that's what I'm loving about everything that we get to be a part of, is that we get to kind of be part of continuing to grow and develop that in our industry. So it's a really fun place to be. It's a fun chair to be sitting in right now, for sure. So, all right, Todd. Well, let's get into the specifics of the success tracker here. So I think we've talked about kind of how, why we want to set goals. I think we've also talked about how to set goals. Being real specific. I guess to summarize the how to set goals for me, at least, Todd, would be this. I at the very minimum want to start off with how much and by when, and then put that out there. Allow that feedback to come back to me in the form of advice. Criticism that's not destructive, or even questions that I'm asked. We get a ton of feedback all the time on lots of things, and most of the time we just miss it. I mean, it can be as simple as we put something out there and don't get a response to it. Then that's feedback that it needs to be changed. But it's you're getting that feedback. So if you start off with very specific how much and by when, hit on some of the other W words that you were talking about, that's where you need to start, and then just work on it from there. And I think what I'm so proud of with what we've done with the success tracker is we kind of give people a pretty good roadmap to that. Yeah. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it's tough to see, because that's one of the things that's right now I'm struggling with is, it's here. We have this roadmap for you. We have a great price point on it, and really the price point is a moot point, because it's here to show you need to put a little skin in the game to get it, because what you're getting out of it is way more than what you're going to put into it. And we just want people to be able to take action, because a lot of them will put it out there, but they just won't do anything. But the minute you start, investing any money in yourself, and even as little as $20. Hey, I spent $20. I need to do this. I need to get on it. So it's one of those where I've noticed that a lot more, that when I pay for training, I take that way more serious than when I get the free training, because, hey, it's free. I can go back and watch it and do whatever, hey, when I'm paying for it, hey, I paid for this. I need to see, what's going on. It's almost, I think it goes for anything, when you pay for something, you just enjoy it more. When you pay, for your first car you bought, that was way, you were way more proud of that than the one, the hand-me-down one that you got from, somebody else. Yeah. It's just, when it's your thing and you're taking, pride and ownership in it, then, you work harder to make it work.
Sure. Well, you've earned it, you've earned it your way. And I think that can go a long way. So, all right. So we know that, here's how we want to set our goals. So let's talk about the success tracker. We won't give away the entire ball of wax here, but I want to share with people kind of some of the steps here. So the first thing that starts off is when you sign up for Success Tracker, you're going to get a certificate. Certificate of commitment is what we've called it, and it's going to basically state back what your goal is. And with the Success Tracker, you share with us one goal that you'd like to reach in the next 12 months. And you also share with us one milestone or secondary goal that you're going to reach along the way, that's going to tell you, hey, I'm on track to reach my goal.
Right. And one good thing about that is we don't let that just slide. It's when you send us a goal, we ask those questions. Hey, what's this? Because we help you, kind of define that, because if it doesn't make sense to us, how is it going to make sense, to anybody else or yourself? So when you send that in, we're like, hey, what about this, or when, or we ask you those questions so you can get that refined goal, so you have it, laser focused on what you're going to do.
Yeah. Because if a third party, somebody from the outside looking in, can't, without being explained in depth, if they can't just go, okay, what's your goal? And then where are you at? And if they can't go from there to go, yep, you're either on target or you're off target or you've reached it. If they can't make one of those decisions without more clarification, then your goal's not clear enough, And so I think that's the best way to look at it, is when you're setting this goal and you're going to share it out there. If somebody that doesn't know anything about what's going on inside your head can't go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, then you need to refine it. And so, if somebody's giving you that feedback, that actually means they give a darn about you, because they want you to succeed. So yeah, I think that's a really good point to make, Todd, is that we are going to give you the feedback, and and it's not in an attacking way. The funny part here is, Todd, is that, we want to send you the stuff. Even we want to send you the mug that you're going to get when you reach your milestone, and we're going to send you a congratulation packet at the end that includes a T-shirt when you reach your goal. But you're not going to reach them. We know that you're not going to reach them if you don't have some clarity there. It's basically the way I look at it. So, yeah. So, with that being said, that's the start of it. You're going to get a certificate. We also send along a letter here that has it's 7 things on the list, but the 7th thing is to celebrate and ask questions. So really, when you break it down, there's about 5 things that you need to do to reach your goal. So Todd, let's talk about kind of the start of it. What have you done for you? Because both Todd and I have our own goals that so we're participants as well as administering. How's that worked for you? What have you done? I tend to carry mine around with me, but other people have posted them and done some other things. What have you done?
Mine is sitting at the home office, sitting right there. So when I sit there, I know to look at it. And then I've kind of gotten a schedule on how I do things, because our goal was to get more members into the group. We wanted to have 5,000 within 12 months. So how can I do that? Well, I need to become more involved in other people's groups. I need to get more people in ours. I need to share more things. So I try and do that throughout the week, and then add people and invite them, and then on Tuesday kind of do the welcoming, and here's this, and just keep that growing. And every day it seems to get a little bit more, but it's something that, some weeks there's, maybe 2 or 3, other weeks there's 30. It just depends, but it's just, it's still staying with that goal to get it out there, but to know, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got your pretty clear action plan in front of you is basically what you're saying there. And I love that. And I think that's a big part of it, is we set the goal, and then we try to figure out, okay, what's the action? Cause I know we've talked a little bit about, kind of how you're going to get there, but the how, typically, in my experience, is the thing that changes the most throughout the course of reaching toward the goal. Is that how is going, you might go, okay, I'm going to do this, and here's how I'm going to do it. And you're like, oh, this is perfect. I know it. And then you go out and you do that, and the feedback you get is that, oh, that how doesn't work. Okay, so now what? And that's where it evolves and it changes. And that's where you got to go to get feedback. That's where you got to, rely on a support system and whatnot. And that's what we'd also hope to build with Success Tracker. And I think that we've got that in a lot of ways. But any of you folks that are listening in right now that may be already a part of that, what else can we do? What else do you need? Todd, if you have other thoughts, what more is there that, we can do to support you in reaching these goals? Todd, any other thoughts that bounce off the top of your head here?
I mean, I can't wait until, the virtual part of everything is great. So that way we can kind of just, reach through screens and shake people, because sometimes I feel that's what some people need, is that just, here's this, wake up and see this. And because I want to say that a big chunk of everybody's failure is themselves, whether they're not believing in themselves, they're not following through, they're giving up, it's, hey, everybody is, built the same, it's here, you're grown from some chromosomes and came up there's nothing, like magical, there's not
Yeah.
superheroes and mutants and that we're all human. So,
Yeah.
it's, what makes you successful is your drive. You have to be the one to go out there and do it because, it feels a lot more rewarding when you build something yourself than, when you're given something. And
Yeah.
how many of those second and third generation companies fail because, the kids were just given to it instead of, working their way up. They just hand it over and then there, and nobody respects them for it. Nobody really wants to listen to them. So, you have to earn what you're going to get. Otherwise, it more than likely is going to fail.
Yeah. 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 You do have to pay the rent every day, so to speak. And that's just part of it. But that can also be the most rewarding part of it. You mentioned it earlier about, that sense of when something's just kind of given to you, that may be a nice feeling at first, but it doesn't last. But if you've earned that thing, you've put the work in, that is so much more powerful, so much more rewarding. I would feel the same way that when the first car that I purchased myself, it was a piece of junk, but boy, that thing was awesome to me because it was my car that I bought myself, and that was a huge deal for me. And so, that's the kind of thing that we're hoping to be able to support people in is like, okay, it doesn't matter if I were to give you this or somebody else gives you this or whatever. If you go out there and earn that by taking the steps that you need to take, we're going to try to give you some guardrails and try to help keep you heading in the right direction. That's all we can do, because if we're doing the rest of it, if I'm just dragging you along, Todd, if I were to just say, hey, Todd, just do this every day, I'm dragging you, you get to that sensation where I feel like I want it more than you do. How's that going to work?
We're just going to cover you up and not listen, just like, whatever, because then you don't feel a part of anything. You become, every one of us should be striving to be, the leader. You're going to lead the way for this. And it's great, to have other leaders help you get to that. But, when you're just, that constant follower, you have to be the one to take, charge and take lead. They said you can have the best laid plan out there for it, but if you're not implementing it, if you're not doing it, it's just going to sit there and do nothing. So, you need to take that action amongst yourself. You need to take that responsibility. And the biggest thing is accountability. You need to, us being our own, our own people, and, having the business and, owning the business, or who do you have to account to? If you still have the day job, you're accounting to somebody. This needs to be done by this. You're expected to do these things because if you don't, you're going to get fired. You're going to get written up. Something's going to, some kind of disciplinary action. When you work for yourself, what are you going to do? Fire yourself? What are you going to do?
I tried to do it. It doesn't work out.
You're going to suspend yourself for 3 days? Awesome. That's 3 days without work. And I get to come back and have, now 4 days of work to get done. So it's one of those where you have to hold yourself accountable because nobody else is going to.
Yeah. 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 I love all of that. And, that was honestly one of the real big things, Todd, when you and Janessa says, this is our DAC Chicago workshop for the morning. Should we go to B-dubs later? Man, that sounds amazing. I just actually, when she posted that, realized that, again, I know she mentioned it earlier, but I wiped it from my brain, but yeah, we would have been in Chicago today. So. Yeah,
we would have did B-dubs last night, and this would have been an early morning here.
We may have been hurting a little bit today, but so yeah, I mean, and honestly, when you and I were kind of this whole our success group thing was just kind of not even a newborn yet, that was a big part of what I was so excited about, was talking to you and having that opportunity to go, yeah, this makes sense, because that accountability piece is so important, and how can we do that? And we talked a lot about that right at first too. So that was a really exciting thing for me. So,
yeah. I think for us is, when we tell people, here's your goals and here's your how, and we've changed ours along the way too, where we had, for our industry, it was pretty, apparel focused, a decoration focused. And as we got farther along in it, we start thinking, hey, this can work across. It doesn't matter the business type, and there's a lot of people, the MLMs out there that they get a plan, but then they have no business plan to back it up. They have nothing there. It's just here, you're going to get a percentage off it, which is fine if you're doing one of those in there. But if you have the plan in place, you'll be able to grow that number. And that's where we started realizing, hey, when we're doing things, yes, we can be specific on this thing, but as we start doing more of these trainings and things like that, let's try to not make them so specific if it's not a specific goal for it. So that way anybody can use it. And so we learned, we adapted throughout it. It was like, here, if this is our goal, how can we reach more people and how can we get more people involved? So let's spread it out and see what we can do and go from there.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Renee asked, what year would we have been in, Aaron? So that is a scientific endeavor that we take on sometimes at the bar called time traveling. And at this point, probably any year other than 2020, I think would have been fine. I think we all would have been like, let's just skip 2020. We
just
can
go take me back a year and let me take my entire life savings, mortgage of the house, get every penny I can and put it all in masks and just have them ready to go on February 1st and say, hey, I've got 1 million masks here because I would have been able to retire and just been done by now.
Nice. Yeah. I remember when my contact that I work with, Emily is her name, and she's with a company called Best Sub. And I remember when she was visiting us in the States about 4 years ago, and she was showing us samples, and some of the samples she showed were these masks. And, us Americans, we all looked at each other like, who would buy those? And they were already wearing them over there. So, yeah, boy, if I could really get that time travel to work, I'd probably head back to that year, 4 or 5 years ago, whenever that was. So, all right, Todd, well, let's wrap up the Success Tracker. We'll catch a couple of comments here. In fact, I'm going to go back a little further and catch Julia's comment here that I missed from earlier. I agree with having people there to help you stay on the path and cheer you on is important. I think that's where I struggle. I need a stronger support system. I don't think you can understate that, really. I mean, I think that is probably one of the most important things is, again, you've got to have the people that are there to support you, to celebrate with you, but that are also willing and able to ask the hard question, to, make you get out of your comfort zone and go, well, okay, Todd, why are you doing that? That doesn't really make sense to me. What could you be doing differently?
Yeah.
And maybe our gut reaction to a question like that would be, oh, hold on, now you're attacking me. But that's not what's happening. You got to get beyond that yucky feel and be able to take that feedback and use it. Todd, I mean, how do you look at something like that?
I think it's if you can't explain your why to somebody, then how do you explain it to yourself? They're going to ask you, why or how or something. And if you can't explain, then how do you expect to do it? If somebody else is having an issue with it, then you say, and it's not always complicated like that, where they say, well, how are you going to do that? Hey, I'm going to do $100,000 in sales. Okay, when? Well, by the end of the year. Okay, and it was just that quick. You knew what you wanted, but you hadn't put it down yet. I want to sell 100 of these. Well, how are you going to sell 100 of them? Well, I'm going to run Facebook ads. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get in some groups. So you have that there, but you just don't have it written down. So what your consistent plan is. And that, I think, across the board, it's just the accountability and having the why. It's why are you doing this? Why, how you should be able to, like we said earlier, your goal should answer everything in there. You shouldn't have, any questions that come from it. And if it does, let's refine that. So that way, it is set there. There is nothing to be answered about it. And then the accountability. What are you doing to get there? How are you going to get there? Do you have the support staff behind you? Are you saying it there? One of the biggest things is, if you're with a spouse, get them on board. You got to have somebody hold you accountable. And one of the hardest things for me is to realize that I hurt feelings because, I'm very good about what happens here stays here, and I can just go home and do. And I always will fall back to, the Ron Burgundy, when he signs off, it just goes on like nothing's there because like that. And everybody around him is just shocked. And hey, there's times I get home and well, what's going on? This is that. And I realized, hey, I hurt feelings, and I need to get better about that. And because that separation of work and home, yeah, if you can't do that and do it there, it just makes everything bad. So
Yeah.
I have to get better at that.
I think that may be a whole nother show where we just sit in the background and listen. Honestly, where we
really want
we
that
bring
show?
on Corey and Kylene and we say, okay, how have we failed at being business partners to you guys? And then sit back and just take it.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't think they'll say. I think they'll be
I
like,
know.
"Oh no," and then from that point on, I'm like, "You had your piece. You did not say anything."
and that still is not right, Todd. We'd still be messing up. So, so no, I think that's a good point. And I guess the other thing to say when you're talking about that feedback and being able to answer that question, there are going to be times though where somebody asks you that question, and you just don't know, and that's totally fine. And in fact, that is actually a good place to be, because that just means, okay, now I can stop and answer that question. A lot of times we get stuck, like, how do we get there? Or what is it that I really want? Or those kinds of things. And we get stuck. But what happens is a lot of the way to come up with an answer is to ask the right question. So if you're getting asked a ton of different questions, one of those questions is going to be the right question to get you to your answer. So when you feel stuck, the best thing to do is to get as much feedback. Ask for, people to, just put it in front of people and say, give me your honest feedback. But it's important how you react to that feedback. Because if you put it in front of somebody and you're asking for honest feedback and they give you honest feedback and you recoil or you make them feel bad about them sharing that honest feedback, the likelihood that they're going to give you that same honest feedback, that's what you really need and want, is gets slimmer every time you do that. So it is important to kind of be okay with not knowing the answer, but also being okay with getting the feedback that, yeah, you need to refine this a little bit more.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you and I could go on for hours on this. Let's real quick just wrap up the success tracker. We've had the banner down below here for a bit. It's oursuccessgroup.com/success tracker. It's only $20, Todd. I mean, it's we talked about the need to put some skin in the game, but we certainly didn't want it to be a break the bank situation for anybody. And like you said, you're going to get a heck of a lot more out of it than $20, right?
You can have 7 of these, or you can have a plan in place to succeed. And then
when you succeed, then you have 14 of those and you're good, right?
Even like this, by moving everything back home, I'm going to save $1.57 a can, because then I'm just going to buy it over at Sam's and I'm going to have them in the fridge there. And I mean, I could probably totally do that here and have it there, but it's one of those things. I go into the gas station, I talk to the guy, I pick this up, and that's just how it works. I won't have to do that anymore. So yeah, I'm looking at all those cost cutting measures by moving back home. It's something as simple as $1.50 adds up. It comes out to, let's say $400 a year. I can do some good damage with $400 in ad revenue.
There you go. That sounds fantastic. There's a goal for you. And you're working towards it. I mean, you put it out there, you're working towards it, and you know what you need. You're going to create $400 in ad revenue by moving home. Yeah. There you go. It can be that simple, folks. That's the cool part about it. So oursuccessgroup.com/ST. It's pretty simple, success tracker. And here's the thing, just dive into it, give it a shot. We've got things ranging all over the board that folks have been willing to share with us that then get shared out to the group, and we're supporting each other. And, so just do it. It's simple. It's not painful. It's easy. You're going to get support. If there's questions, we're going to ask them of you, and, but take this seriously for yourself. You deserve it. You're even if you don't feel like you're going to make it, Todd, one of my favorite quotes is the Michelangelo quote about, For most of us, the biggest failure is not necessarily setting a goal and not reaching it, but setting a goal that's too low and actually reaching that goal. So that's not exactly how the quote goes, but along those lines. So we want to push ourselves a little bit, so don't just, go, okay, well, I'm just going to do this because I know I can reach it. Why don't you push yourself, add a 0 to that or something like that, and because guess what, if you add a 0 to it and you don't quite get to that 0, you're probably still going to be a heck of a lot further ahead of the one that you could have easily gotten to.
Yeah. And if that doesn't make sense, you look at it this way. If I set my goal at 100, okay, and that's at 100. All right, I'm super happy at 100. Now, if I set my goal at 1,000, all right, I only get 50% of that. So I'm only at 500. Yeah, I only reached that, I missed that goal by half. But remember that original goal of 100, I 5 times that. So that's where, setting it higher allows you to think bigger and grow more, because you're reaching just out of your reach, and that's where that goal comes, is, hey, you just keep pushing it there. You could see, if you're sitting at 6 months of the year and you said, yeah, I'm setting my 100,000 in sales, and you can see that you're going to hit that in August. Are you going to lay back on it? No, let's try for 150, because we're already going to hit this one, so let's keep going with it. So that's the great thing about goals, is you set those, and you can change those to benefit you and help push you farther, faster.
Yep. And then I guess the last thing, Todd, that I want to close with, and I'll let you close with your thoughts too, is the last part of this, and probably the biggest part of this, is just believe in yourself. You absolutely can do it. I would not be willing to put this success tracker program out there. I would not be willing to do half the things that I do if I felt like, I'm just hoping and praying that these people are going to be able to do it, or, that somebody's going to be able. No, that's not the case. I wouldn't put myself in that pain if I didn't believe that you guys could do that. And I wouldn't be talking about goal setting if I didn't believe 100% that this kind of thing really, really works. And so you got to believe in yourself, and you absolutely can do anything that you want to do. It's how much are you willing to sacrifice, and how much do you want to get to? Those are the two scales you got to weigh out. And once you find that balance in the right goal, things really will start happening without you even knowing that they're happening. It's a really cool place to be. So, Todd, that's my closing thought. Yours, sir?
Yeah. I'm gonna use a baby analogy. You just didn't wake up one day and learn, know how to walk. It took time to get there. As you were walking, you fell down a lot. You fell down, you got hurt, and guess what? You just turned around and got up and kept doing it. You didn't give up and say, I'm going to be a slug the rest of my life. You kept there, and now you walk and don't even think about it. So that's kind of how this is. You have to, realize that you can do it, that you're going to have mistakes along the way. You're going to have failures, and you're just going to learn from those and grow from them and keep getting better and better. And before you know it, you're going to do stuff automatically and not even think about it. Like moving your hands and arms and feet, you don't even think about that anymore. You just do it. And so it's kind of that same thing, is once you get that good business sense in there, and here's my plan, here's how I'm going to do. The more and more you do it, it just comes naturally. So, don't worry about the failures. Don't worry about the mistakes. Happens to everybody. Everybody, that grows from it and learns from it continues to succeed. The ones that sit back and throw their hands up and say, all right, I'm done with this, those are the ones that fail, and they fail hard. They get out, and it is what it is. But you have to, take that accountability amongst yourself. I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to, screw up along the way, but my goal is this, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Love it. Great analogy. Great way to close this out. I just put our email address down there at the bottom. It's success@oursuccessgroup.com. If you would like to reach out to us, if you have any questions about Success Tracker, any questions about anything, comments, questions about our goals, just want to bounce something off of us, we both get, we both check this email. So send them over, let us know what you got, and let us know how we can help support your business. I guess the one other thing is Todd, we should probably share what our goal is again. I know we've shared it lots with everybody, but that's the whole point, is you keep sharing it. And I've got it posted right here. I'm sure you've got it around there somewhere, but to provide resources that empower over 1,000 businesses to achieve their idea of success. So there we go. All right. Sandy says, I still fall down. Hey, true. true story. I've got
Gotta get up again.
yeah, I've got the metal plate in my leg to prove it. So, and Sandy says, thank you for all you do. Same to you, Sandy. Thank you for all you do. Jerry, thank you, sir. Appreciate you checking in. And Valerie, enjoy your weekend as well. Todd, anything else before we get out of here?
No, if you have any questions, just email us down below. That's what we're here for, is to help you. So don't be afraid to ask. Be that ask hole. Ask everything you need to, because we're going to give you as many answers as we can.
Nice. I got you to say ask hole. I love it. All right, dude. Well, high five to you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you joining me this morning, and great job as usual.
You as well.
All right. We'll see you guys soon. Oh, Tuesday with Todd is next on the docket. Is it transfers with Rick, or is that
with Rick? That's he was out of town this week, so Monday we're going to try and put everything together, and that's what we're going to shoot for Tuesday. So Monday will be the definitive day to know for sure if we're going to do it. But I do have samples that were sent, so we're going to do that, and hey, we're going to see how it plays out. But that is the tentative plan.
Cool. All right. So check that out. Tuesdays with Todd at 5:00 Central Time, live OSG, or all of the other fun places. Your YouTube channel, which is what again, Todd? Sorry.
YouTube.com/FatDadWholesale.
Fat Dad Wholesale. Thank you. And so that'll be Tuesday. Wednesday, we will be back with Q&A with T&A. So if you'll head over to oursuccessgroup.com/Q&A and get some questions in there, we'll answer anything. I mean, we're pretty open book, so we'll answer anything. So put anything you'd like to learn about, hear about, talk about, whatever, put that in there. And then this upcoming Friday, Todd, I just wanted to share real quick because I'm pretty excited about this one. We have the CEO, her name's Ashley, from a company called Lime Loop, and they are a sustainable packaging logistics company. So
I have seen that. That'll be a good one to have on there. Yeah.
She's I'm actually feeling like I really need to step up my game here from her LinkedIn profile. She's a pretty sharp lady, so I got to be ready to make sure that because I'm trying to really understand her company. I know, from my kind of small brain, sometimes I just look at it and go, oh, she's got sustainable packaging, but I think it's so much more than that.
You send it to there, and then they send it back to you, right? Is that how that works?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it goes even deeper than that.
Yeah, I was like, okay, what more is this? Because I'm trying to. So that'll be.
I'm really excited about. And they basically looked at this as a great way to ship T-shirts around as a starter point, and but the logistics behind the whole thing, they use artificial intelligence to kind of manage and but then this packaging is amazing. It's made of recycled material, and it can hold up for years and years and years. So we stop littering the cardboard that, I mean, it's one thing to recycle cardboard, but at this rate of things being shipped, we can't even keep up with the cardboard that's being pushed into our recycling centers and stuff like that. So we got to start making some changes here. So looking forward to that. All right. Cool, man.
And then let's throw this out there too. So that way we self, accountability, coming up then in 4 weeks. Is that when the next 5 keys is starting off? Is that 4 weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yep. It'd be the 2nd of September.
For that 5 keys on marketing, the goal set for that is to have 12 weeks of Christmas, to have you set up. Once you're done with this, we're going to, kind of have a good game plan for you to be able to run something every week, which is 12 from the time that's over to the week of Christmas is 12 weeks. So, that's something that this year more than any is going to be online. I don't think there's going to be a Black Friday. I don't think there's going to be any of those big in-store sales because nobody wants to go stand, shoulder to shoulder in lines. I don't think it's going to be good for anybody that says, hey, we're going to have this, because the backlash from it. So I think you're going to see way, way more online than ever before. So now's the time to start thinking about that. And this is what we want to help you do.
Yeah. And because of that online nature of things, it will be early and often. The big companies are already saying that they're not doing the pre, Black Friday thing, but that just means they're going to start pumping out stuff well before that, so the noise is going to be pretty loud this year on the online world. So yeah, I'm excited about that, hoping we can give people a nice game plan. So good stuff. All right, Todd, thank you, sir. Let's
Thank you.
we'll see you on Tuesday with Todd, and then Todd and I will be back together on Wednesday for Q&A. So looking forward to that. All right, Todd, have a great Saturday, sir.
You do the same.
All right, bye-bye.